Didn't work. Didn't work. Here we go. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Free to Think. I'm Cody.
And I'm Jacob.
We're back for another episode of Free to Think.
Epic episode.
Epic episode. So, Jacob, what are we going to talk about today?
I don't know. Whatever you want to.
Let's talk about some intelligence of the artificial variety.
Oh, is that what the A stands for?
I think so.
And what does the I stand for?
Intelligence.
Oh, right.
Artificial intelligence.
What about it makes it artificial?
It's real, I guess. I mean, it's real intelligence based on real knowledge, but it's not produced by humans.
Oh. So synthetic.
Yeah. I don't even know what AI is.
I like the term synthetic sentience.
Synthetic sentience.
I don't know if that'll ever catch on.
I think artificial intelligence has already caught on.
Yeah, it's kind of ingrained.
It is.
But before we launch into that,
Tell me.
I have to ask you, because my daughter wanted me to talk about this. What is your favorite turtle?
Man. Like, my brother Darby, I know, likes Raphael, because Raphael's angry.
Yeah.
Red. And, you know, my brother's a redhead. I like Michelangelo because he's funny. He's the comic of the group, but I don't relate to him as well. I'd have to go with...
You're more of a Donatello, aren't you?
Yeah, I would have to go with the Donatello. Like, he's like the leader, and he's like the one that gets stuff done. I think I would have to go with Donatello. And then Leonardo's just like the nerd of all nerds and, you know, tech guru, knows it all. But I like them all. They're all good.
I meant like real turtles, though. Not necessarily Ninja Turtles.
Really?
Yeah. Because she loves turtles. I mean, I figured you would go there, but I was...
I guess you didn't say Ninja Turtles, did you?
I just said, what's your favorite turtle? Alligator snapping turtle?
Donatello's my favorite turtle.
Leatherback? What type of turtles are those? They're like red-eared sliders, aren't they?
I have no idea.
Don't you know the lore?
No, I don't.
Oh, man.
Is there like a book about the Ninja Turtles, or was it a movie first?
I think it was a comic book first.
Yeah,
A graphic novel or something.
Yeah. My favorite turtle. I like the big ones in the ocean.
Sea turtles.
Sea turtles. Is that what they're called? Sea turtles?
Well, there's different types.
Yeah.
The leatherback was always my favorite because it's the biggest.
They're so cool. And they're like hundreds of years old.
Yeah.
They're pretty cool. I've seen a couple of them in the ocean, and they're just like, I mean, they're so slow on land, but in water, they're so majestic.
Just doing their thing.
They just glide through the water.
Yeah. Tortoises they're pretty slow.
What's the difference between a turtle and a tortoise?
I think turtles are kind of semi-aquatic and their shells are flatter.
Mm-hmm.
But a tortoise is got the dome.
And the proper way to say turtle is toidle.
Toidle?
Toidle.
Yeah, it looked like a giant toidle.
That was a toidle.
In a trench coat.
That was a reference, obviously, to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Which was like our thing back in the 80s and 90s.
Yep. We used to have a turtle named Myrtle. Myrtle the turtle.
Myrtle the turtle.
Yep. I also had some red-eared sliders, and one of them bit me one time. Took a chunk out.
It's no good.
Yeah, because I thought I was so fast, you know. I put my hand in front of him. Do
you still have turtles?
No. Of course, Karina would want us to get a turtle.
Yeah.
As soon as possible. She loves them.
Well, when you were a kid, you guys had snakes.
We had a ball python, yeah.
I never understood that. And
What's
then
wrong with snakes?
And then one time it went missing, and you guys couldn't find your snake.
Yeah, and it was in the couch.
How do you sleep at night?
It's not a poisonous snake. It's not like it's an anaconda.
It was a big snake.
Oh, it wasn't that big.
It was like 8 feet long.
It was so gentle.
Until it's wrapping itself around your neck.
He wouldn't do that. He loved us. Sneaky snake.
Nature.
Although it was fun to feed mice to that thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. He would coil up around the mice. They'd be screaming. Mom would always want me to feed them.
Yeah.
Because she didn't like that part.
What'd you name it again?
Sneaky.
Sneaky? Yeah. You guys like those alliterations. Sneaky the snake?
Yep.
What was the other one?
Myrtle the turtle.
Myrtle the turtle. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyways, when I found out your snake was missing, I was like, I ain't spend the night at Jacob and Justin's house. No way.
Why not? Scared of a snake?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's what nightmares are made of.
There's a lot worse nightmares than just a snake.
I mean, that's the very that's the foundation of Anaconda, the movie, is a big snake and you don't know where it's at.
Okay, yeah, that snake. It's like 60 feet long, sure. Sneaky was only like 4 feet long.
He seemed longer than that, but that was a long time ago. So.
That's true. Probably a lot smaller these days, or at least would seem that way.
Yeah.
Is that a recurring nightmare that you have, the snake?
I don't like snakes.
Because I have, like, whenever I have a nightmare or something, it's usually either the clown or the wolf.
Yeah, I don't have nightmares about clowns. My nightmares are usually me being unprepared for something, like showing up to a public event without clothes on.
Oh, so the grown-up nightmare.
Yeah, the grown-up nightmare.
I don't have my notes prepared.
Correct. I'm supposed to give a speech and I don't know what I'm talking on,
But you do that every week.
I don't.
You have a speech and you don't know what you're talking on?
Yeah, like today. Yeah, but we're just talking.
I was just trying to make a joke.
Oh. Yeah, we don't know what we're talking about, but we do our best.
Yes.
We're thinking out loud.
Yes.
Because we're free to think.
We're free to think out loud.
It's good.
GJ.
Cool.
Oh, did we just fall off the cliff?
We did.
Did
you watch the World Cup?
Nope. But I heard that Spain won the title.
Spain won 1-0. They deserved it.
So we were both wrong.
Why were we both wrong?
Because I thought it was going to be 3-2, and you thought it was going to be 2-1.
Oh, yeah.
On the score.
Correct.
I can't remember even who I said was going to win.
Yeah.
I think you said Spain because they were super good defense.
Yeah, my heart was with Lionel Messi. I really wanted to see him win it. It was just, we all expected it to be his last World Cup because he's 39. So the next World Cup he would be 43, which is...
Man, that is so old.
It's so old. Oh, my goodness.
It's old.
But
it's been 84 years.
Anyways, but yeah, Spain deserved the World Cup. They're the better team by far. I'm glad they snuck it in overtime.
Overtime, huh?
Yeah. 0-0.
So it was 0-0 the entire game?
It was 0-0.
That sounds like a slog.
It was, but it's still fun.
Cool.
So,
if you sped it up and watched it at like 3 times speed, that would...
It's not like a podcast that you can speed up. You got to get the feel of the game. And like there's these peaks, right? Like when opportunities happen and there's this flow to it and you relax. And I don't know. I really like the flow of a soccer game. You got to understand the game. You got to kind of love the game. But once you get into it, there's this flow that's just beautiful. It's not like a football game. Like the football game's designed around commercials. So it's like go, go, go. And then you wait for a minute and a half, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is. But a soccer game, and they did something new this year. They created these hydration breaks, which is basically halfway through the half. And I think there was some logic behind it because in some of these countries, like, well, even this year, you know, whether you're down in Miami and the heat index is through the roof with humidity, they wanted to take an extra break. So they call them hydration breaks. But let's be honest, they weren't for hydration. FIFA wanted some commercial breaks. Because they look at the NFL and they look at the amount of money the NFL is raking in with their commercials and their design. Where a soccer game just isn't designed for commercial breaks except for halftime. Halftime is literally and they're usually only 10 to 15 minutes, so they'd have to cram them all in there. And you're not going to sit there and watch a solid 15 minutes of commercials.
Fair enough.
Anyway, so they snuck them in other ways.
I hate just watching 15 seconds of commercials.
I know, drives me nuts.
YouTube. I'm trying to skip.
YouTube Premium. Just kidding.
I'm still just cheap.
I know. I had a guy when I was in my campaign for commissioner, I think the first time, and I was running YouTube ads, and he sent me this message. He goes, if I have to watch one more of your campaign ads, I'm not going to vote for you. And I didn't respond to this, but I wanted to respond. I was like, don't be cheap, buy YouTube Premium. You know, it's like that's what's paying for your ability to watch YouTube is the commercials.
So you were doing him a favor.
I was doing him a favor.
Yeah.
I was paying for his free
content.
Free content.
Man.
He was ungrateful though. Very ungrateful.
Sounds like he just needed an attitude adjustment.
Yeah, probably.
Fair enough.
Oh, oh my God. I'm so sorry. Oh man, I'm still trying to learn this thing. That's what I was trying to do, was to get to that screen, but my gosh.
Play the intro again.
Whenever we have a break, I'm just going to play the intro.
And we're back.
And we're back from commercial break.
From our sponsor.
Oh, jeez.
If we had tried to get sponsored by Taco Bell, it might not be going too good right now.
No, Taco Bell's not doing so good either. It's another conversation about lettuce from Taylor Farms that's been... It's got
Taylor, is that in Colorado?
Taylor Farms, I think, is in Mexico.
Oh.
But they've been contaminated with that disease.
Cyclospora.
Yeah. Anyways.
All right. Now that we're completely derailed.
Let's talk about artificial intelligence, man. I mean...
So intelligence has been around a while. In humans. And animals. What would you define intelligence as?
This is just off the top of my head, but the ability to reason with one's surroundings, the ability to communicate with your species. Yeah, the ability to take inputs from the outside world, process them, and then return.
So it's kind of like a function. You have inputs, you have outputs.
It's a communication language. I mean, intelligence really is. If you're unable to communicate with the outside world or with your species, I mean, you're unintelligent. You're just trying to survive at that point. And then I guess survival is a form of intelligence.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The ability to accomplish a goal, to set a goal, accomplish a goal.
How do you define intelligence?
It would probably be pretty close to the same thing. Communication definitely has a big thing to do with it, just because you have to, you have to produce the whatever language, and then you actually have to transmit it. So, yeah. But that doesn't mean that, I mean, consciousness is a whole different thing, right?
It is.
Yeah.
So what does consciousness have to do with AI?
At this point, probably not very much, actually.
Is AI conscious?
I don't think it is. I mean, in order to qualify something as having consciousness, we would have to be able to define what consciousness is real crystal, succinctly and definitively, and then say, does this AI algorithm have that or does it not? I don't think we even know what consciousness is or where it comes from enough to actually say, is the AI conscious enough, or does it have consciousness or not?
Yeah, we can't even define consciousness ourselves or where it comes from. Are we actually conscious? Are we just a product of chemicals and reactions?
Or are we all just in one big mind? Is it just me that exists and you're a figment of my imagination? Or is it the other way around?
It's actually the other way around.
Solipsism?
You don't actually exist.
I do exist.
What word did you just use?
Solipsism. It's like a philosophical concept when you believe that you're the only intelligent thing in the universe.
There's a lot of that going around.
Yes, there is. Not even ironically.
No, there's not. There's people who think they know everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all fight that at some level. I think that's a product of the age too, where we can just Google something. What's that term called where you have a very brief understanding of something, but you think you understand it completely, and therefore you act as though you understand it completely, but really you're pretty ignorant about the topic? There's a term.
The Dunning-Kruger effect?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's where your perceived expertise outpaces your actual expertise.
Yeah, we've got a lot of that.
Yeah.
And I think
it's kind of like where we operate on this podcast, because we come up with a topic and then we research just enough to be dangerous.
Just enough to be dangerous, but we're also clear that we're thinking out loud. We're taking an idea and we're processing it, and we realize that we're underneath that Dunning-Kruger effect.
Oh, yeah.
And we're not immune to that, and we recognize that. I know very little about AI. I've listened to a lot of podcasts on AI, and it'll hurt your brain if you try to learn what it actually is and how it actually operates.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's always the moral argument of AI and what it does to not only our minds, but also our culture.
Yeah. So, AI, if you're talking about a transform or something like that, what does it boil down to?
When you're talking about a what?
The transform. That's kind of what they call the algorithm.
Mm.
So, especially with like image recognition.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the biggest, that's where AI kind of started, was they had this device called the perceptron. Have you heard of that? Perceptron, yeah. And they would give this perceptron a very simple image that was basically like a 9x9 array of LEDs, and it would have a letter on it or something. I think it was a J or something like that. And the perceptron would run its own algorithm to try to recreate what it just saw. Yeah. And it was very basic, but that's kind of the whole basis of AI, is just taking, as far as image recognition goes, it's just pattern recognition, really. Just taking things that it's seen, and if you give it an image of a bird and it's trying to extract what that is, it's going to take all of the sort of collective images that it's been trained on, and it's going to run them through this transform and figure out, what category does this image fall into most likely. Mm-hmm. So it's just a lot of like matrix math and dot products and stuff like that. So when you actually boil down like the mathematics of what's happening, it's really pretty simple. But then the question is, well, why do we need a huge, 1 million square foot AI data center? It's because these simple operations, you have to do 4 trillion of them, to do one complex analysis. And so that's why the data centers need so much computing power, is because just the sheer number of operations that need to happen. And that's what kept AI kind of quashed for a while.
At bay, yeah.
Is just because the computing power wasn't there, If they were trying to use a computer that used the punch cards or magnetic tape or something, and the computing power just wasn't there. It's not that the theory wasn't there, it's just that the infrastructure wasn't there yet.
Well, and the infrastructure itself is quite controversial. Like, try to build a data center somewhere, and you're going to see people come out of the woods, especially today.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of bad information about what data centers are and what they consume, what they use, this and that. But like we're talking about it here in Mesa County, we don't have anyone who's really interested in putting a data center in. We got some people kicking tires, but I'll tell you, it doesn't matter what political background you come from. People are hot to trot about data centers. And usually it's, well, they use way too much water. They're way too loud. I heard this last week that they emit waves and sounds that can impact you on so many levels. And I don't know. There's a lot around data centers that make people kind of go weird. Like new subdivisions and solar farms are controversial, but the multiplier on data centers is probably in the tens on how controversial these data centers are going to be, because they consume a ton of energy. And actually the energy companies actually like them because they create a base load that they can sell to. Well, local communities get afraid that they're going to run out of energy. Yeah. Because they see these things in like the big cities where they've got these brownouts, or they've got select select time periods when there literally is no power to conserve power, because I guess they don't have enough, especially in the winter. Not in the winter, but especially in the summer, because that's when the majority of energy is consumed.
Yeah.
Basically because of air conditioning,
Mm-hmm.
which apparently the Europeans don't have.
Not at all.
No, I know they do, but the Europeans were, as they came over for the World Cup, they were relishing the availability of air conditioning everywhere
Nice.
because it's just widely used in America. And Europe, they grew up without air conditioning, of course. Whereas America, the first time they had electricity, they were thinking about ways to cool down houses, right? And so AC is baked into the cake here in America. And it's like, if you build something new, like a football stadium. I went down to the World Cup in Atlanta, bucket list, watched Spain versus Saudi Arabia. They have AC in there, and they kept it at 72 the entire time.
I thought it was versus Morocco.
No, I watched Morocco play Haiti. So we watched two games, Morocco versus Haiti, and then Spain versus Saudi Arabia.
Gotcha.
But, yeah.
Sorry, I diverged.
The Atlanta Falcons football stadium has AC in it. And
like, is it a dome?
Yeah,
it's enclosed.
It's enclosed. They actually, it's a weird looking thing, but they can actually open it too, so it can be opened or closed. But yeah, they crank the AC in that puppy. And
what a technological marvel that capitalism has produced.
Yeah, and they still had hydration breaks. Go think.
Well, I mean, physical activity is physical activity, regardless of the environment.
No,
so let me ask you this. I mean, they say that data centers consume water.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's no way that you're pumping 1 million gallons into a data center and it's consuming 1 million gallons, right?
Well, the way
I mean, how does it? Because it's using it for cooling.
Correct.
How does the system actually work?
Well, there's different types of systems. So think of it as like an evaporative cooler.
Mm-hmm.
If you got a swamp cooler, you run water over the pads, and air comes through. That water cools the air and then pumps it into the. But that water essentially evaporates.
Yeah.
And so you're utilizing water. It's not a product that comes back to you or goes into a drain or anything like that. It's gone. Well, it's into the air.
It's essentially. In the
air. And data centers, most data centers, or at least older data centers, use that same concept because to compute, you ever feel your computer after it's been on for a while, it gets hot because those computations take energy.
Oh yeah.
And as you mentioned earlier, these AI computations take a ton of energy.
Yep.
And so they have to be cooled heavily, and so they used basically evaporative systems to cool these down. But they use a ton of water. And out here in the West, that becomes super controversial when we don't have hardly enough water to water our fields, our farms. And so data centers are actually going to a closed loop system, either a closed loop water system or a closed loop glycol system. So basically like the radiator in your vehicle. So you never utilize. You have to fill the system up, but then it's like a radiator. It the air cools off the radiator type of thing, and the engine itself, and then it loops through again.
But you need a lot more airflow.
You need a lot more airflow, and you probably still need a lot of water, but you're not evaporating that water. So your water consumption is going down, and data computation is getting more efficient as well. You know, back in the day, this laptop that I have here would have filled this table, you know, or it would have taken an entire room and generating a lot of heat. Nowadays, it's a tiny little computer, so we're getting more and more efficient.
Oh yeah.
As we go forward.
I mean, they think that these microprocessors generate a lot of heat. And think about like vacuum tubes that are little electron emitters.
Super hot.
Yeah, like you have a room full of those.
Yeah, just think about having a room full of incandescent bulbs. I mean, it's just like
that's basically what they are.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we're getting more and more efficient, but people have to recognize if they're and I hear this all the time. Like every time you get on Google or AI, let's say, and ask it a question, you might as well dump out a bottle of water on the floor because that's how much water it took. And I think there's probably some science to that if it's an evaporative system. But again, as we move forward and they get more efficient, they're going to get better. And they have to because they have to respond to the community. If the community thinks you're wasting water and energy, then you better do a closed system and produce your own energy. I mean, and that's essentially what they're doing today to get past that local opposition.
So do some of these data centers have their own power generation?
Yeah, some of them are
on
producing
site?
their own energy. Some of them are, you know, and you can. It's like buying credits, right? Like let's say you may not be doing it right here, but you're going to buy credits from a solar farm. So that solar farm is essentially producing for you and putting into the grid. So you've got to offset that energy consumption somehow. I think we should have these little micro reactors, right? Nuclear reactors, and let them generate all their own energy. Use closed systems, and that way their impact is very little. But that's two controversial things together, and someone's going to grow a third eye probably. So we better stay away from that.
Well, according to evolutionary biology, that's just another step. It's bound to happen.
Part of the process.
Yeah. Man, who was it talking the other day? They were talking about, I think it was AOC, talking about how the ash from a coal plant has more radioactivity than nuclear waste. And it just goes to show you that, like, you know, you're saying these controversial issues, the controversy is usually based on the straw man, right? And it just goes to show you that these politicians, they don't know what they're talking about, because nuclear waste is like 1 billion times more radioactive than any
Coal.
ash from a plant.
Yeah.
But the statistic is that if you're talking about nuclear energy, the amount of neutrons radiation that actually leave a nuclear power plant is less than the neutrons that leave a coal power plant because of the shielding, right?
Yeah.
It's not that the coal ash is that much less or that the radioactive waste is less radioactive than the coal ash. So,
Everything is radioactive at some level, right?
oh, yeah.
So to say that the fly ash coming out of the coal plant
Yeah.
is radioactive is not wrong,
Yeah.
or that it's more radioactive than what comes out of a nuclear plant is not wrong.
Oh, well, but
it's misleading.
It's very wrong.
It's misleading.
The amount of radiation that actually comes from the ash of a power plant. I mean, what do you do with the ash?
You're right. You're talking
You
about
put it in the landfill.
yeah.
What do you do with nuclear waste?
Put it in the middle of the earth.
You put it in lead barrels, and then
Yeah.
you put it down deep as you can, because then people do grow third eyes.
I think she's talking about the difference between what comes out of a smokestack that comes into the air, I guess, and that can impact people around you, versus what comes out of a quote unquote smokestack on a nuclear power plant, which there is no smokestack, right? There's just steam.
There's the cooling towers.
Yeah, there's the cooling towers and steam comes out.
But you got to be able to explain that reasonably. I mean, that's the Dunning-Kruger effect rearing its ugly head, right? It's like either she misspoke, in which she needs to go back and make a correction and say, yeah, I sounded like an idiot because I just said this thing that's totally untrue, or she totally believes what she just said and she's totally ignorant.
Or there's a third option. She knows exactly what she said, and she's creating the Dunning-Kruger for a lot of people who say, "Oh my goodness, coal's more radioactive."
That's a good point. She's putting the soundbite out there.
She's smart
Like, hey,
enough
take this and run with it.
to understand the difference.
Yeah.
But she knows nuclear is very controversial, and so if I can tie coal and nuclear together, I'm getting rid of both of them. That's a 2-for-1 deal.
See, and that's just what I don't get, is just the fact that you have to generate power. I mean, if we don't generate any energy, where are we going to be? If we generate zero energy, it's the Stone Age, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything we do is predicated on having energy transformation, right? The energy is stored in the coal, or the energy is stored in the uranium or the plutonium.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be able to transform that into a usable form. I mean, otherwise we can't even do what we're doing here today, right? We can't make coffee. We can't do anything.
Yep.
It's like even a campfire, as primitive as that is transforming energy into something to where we can use it for some purpose, right? So when people rail against energy production, it boggles my mind.
Well, and the hypocrisy generally is they're doing it from a podcast or a cell phone, and railing against energy production in and of itself.
The people in the kayaks that are going up against the big oil tankers saying oil is evil, blah blah blah, and
the polymers that are holding them up.
Yeah, the polymers that are they're floating on actually came from petrochemicals.
Correct.
Some people's kids.
It's America, and I when I talk to people about environmentalism, who themselves may be environmentalists, it's like, why aren't we doing more to save the planet? It's usually because they themselves, and again, every American is wealthy, but it's because they themselves are wealthy compared to the rest of the world, and they have, as you've said before, they have in the hierarchy of needs, they have all of their needs met. Maybe not to 100%, but they stand on the top of that hierarchy, and they have all their basic needs met. And so now they can start worrying about the environment for the environment's sake, rather than being like, I just need clean water, so I'm going to take this animal dung and I'm going to burn it and I'm going to cook this filthy water to where it's somewhat clean so that I can drink, just so that I can live tomorrow. They don't care about the carbon emissions of the animal dung that they're burning, and there's still people living like that today. And yet we have sometimes the audacity to say, no, you can't go through your own industrial revolution. You just need to go straight to solar power that we create for you. To which most third world countries are saying, we don't want this cheap energy. We don't want this fake energy, because that's compared to what coal and nuclear and some of these other energies are. They see solar as kind of this fake cheap energy. They can't really do much. If you need to melt metals, you can't do it with solar. You need an incredible amount of energy to melt metal, to literally go through an industrial revolution. You're gonna have to pump some smoke into the air, and so that you, and I say you, third world countries, can actually start worrying about things because they've fulfilled all their needs. They've met all of their needs in that hierarchy.
Yep. And I think also capitalism tends towards things getting cleaned up, right? I mean, just look at London.
Yeah.
100 years ago, 150 years ago, London was like the dirtiest, smoggiest city on the face of the planet, right? Because they were burning coal in their homes and everywhere. And then through their industrial revolution and technological revolution, I mean, look at London today. It probably has smog just like LA or New York or whatever, but it's not like a permanent black cloud hanging over the city all the time, because I think that the market will drive that, right? If people hate the black cloud, they're going to move elsewhere. There's market forces that are going to make that black cloud go away. They're going to demand from their MP that cleaner technologies are used. So I think in the end, people can be their own sort of arbiter of their own environment, and you don't have to force that on to people through legislation, I don't think.
Yeah, and capitalism, it uses self-interest as the energy behind progress. Like we talked about this last week. You can either, kill the horse, or you can bridle the horse and start moving forward. And capitalism says, I'm going to bridle the horse and use that energy, that horse being kind of that self-interest, and move forward. It's in nobody's self-interest to be breathing toxic sludge or to have E. coli in the river in your drinking water. Like, it's in nobody's best interest. So at some point, and again, you've got to get to this point where you can worry about E. coli or toxic air particles. You've got to get to a point where you can worry about that for your own health's sake, and that takes some wealth. And America's there. Like, we have a ton of regulation, to the point where it's like, okay, now the regulation are getting absurd. We're not talking about parts per million in the river, like 1 or 2 parts per million. We're talking about parts per billion and parts per trillion in some cases, where it's like it's virtually not even there. But we've cleaned our air, we've cleaned our water, and there's nothing wrong with clean air. In fact, I love clean air. I hate driving to Denver sometimes. You see that smog because you feel like, oh, I'm just breathing this stuff into my lungs and congesting them. But living out here in Western Colorado, we love clean air, clean water.
But the average environmentalist, correct me if I'm wrong, if you ask them why they were caring about the environment, it's for the environment's sake. Mm-hmm. It's not like we need to clean up the air so all these people don't get lung cancer. We need to clean up the air because of some, South American tree frog or something.
I think most of them tie it to something. I think it's more of an existential threat that they tie it to. Like, for our kids, or for our progeny, we want to spare the earth for our future generations to live.
That's the prevailing opinion?
I think that's...
Because I've also heard, like, from some environmentalists, like, no, we need to get rid of humans. Humans are the
Oh, yeah.
problem, and the Earth needs to just be able to exist on its own.
Not
So
all
basically kill all the humans.
Yeah, I agree. Not all environmentalists are cut from the same pie. There are some environmentalists, and I've talked to them, who are very anti-human. Like humans are cancer, and we need to rid the earth of this cancer. To which the natural question is, well, why don't you go first? I mean, because I know that's tough, but it's like if we really are a cancer, then you're not helping at all, and so.
But you make a good point, right? Is like the environmentalist that's saying we can't burn fossil fuels. I mean, they probably ride a bike, but do they ride a bike everywhere? They probably drive a car. Do they turn on the AC when they're driving their car?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have a home? So, I mean, there's just rampant hypocrisy and a lack of humility that says, I'm going to fight for this thing, even though this thing has afforded me all of these benefits that I'm not even going to acknowledge. So...
Yeah.
Because, I mean, driving a car or having a home, those are great luxuries. Not everybody has one of those. So I'm going to rail against the system that has afforded me these luxuries, you know?
And I don't know if it's natural, but it seems like when people get to that point where, again, they can worry about the environment for the environment's sake, they get to a point where they stand on top of the heap, and then they don't want anybody else to get to the top of the heap with them, you know? Like the very thing that made them wealthy, the very thing that got them to the position that they're in, to where they can rail against the man. They now want that's what it seems like.
We talked about socialism last week, though.
Yeah, we did.
That's exactly what it is, though. It's like I'm going to be on the forefront of the revolution so that I can be the guy in the Politburo that's running everything. Everyone else doesn't have any power or any sort of agency, but I will.
Because I'm good.
Yeah. We were supposed to be talking about AI.
We've gotten off topic. But
yeah, where are you going? It's environmental. Oh, because we're talking about data centers.
Yeah, data centers.
So there's also the question. So I mean, so they generate the same amount of heat, right? So the heat is going into the environment, whether that heat is contained in the latent heat of the water, or is just in the air. You know, heat going into the air. It's the same amount of heat, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Theoretically,
yeah. I don't know where I was going with that, but I mean. The way that you cool the data center is kind of immaterial to how much energy the actual data center takes. But there's also talk of like contaminating the local area. Like, I just use the word like. But when if you built an Amazon warehouse or a Walmart or a school, is there anything that's unique to building a data center that you wouldn't have gone through in building any of these other general purpose buildings? I mean, you have to dig in the dirt. You have to make sure that the earth foundation is sufficient. You have to pour concrete. You have to put rebar down. You have to drive piles. You have to do whatever. Is there anything unique to the data center that the construction of the data center would do anything that these other buildings wouldn't?
As far as construction, I don't think so.
Because it seems like the point that they're trying to make is just the act of building the data center is harming the environment. But in my mind, we build these huge buildings all the time, and those never get complained about. So why is it the data center gets a unique amount of ire in that regard?
In my experience, it's never been about the construction of the data center, but rather the operation of the data center. You know, and there's positives to this as well. You know, people talk about the value of a data center. So property tax revenue locally, and usually there's an agreement between local governments and these data centers and say, hey, if you're going to consume this much water, energy, there's got to be input back into the system, whether through property tax, sales tax, or like an agreement to say, hey, we'll pay you this much this year. That's generally how these things go in, so they can get support from local government. But I think it's more on the operative side. So like, I don't think anybody says driving piles or laying concrete, building walls is any more disruptive than building a Walmart. The difference is Walmart almost has a use by right, because we have these commercial districts. And so we kind of as a community said, hey, here's where you would build a warehouse or a Walmart or a grocery store. And they don't even have to go to city council or anything like that. It's just almost baked into the cake. This is where we want you. It provides predictability. So someone can come, Walmart can come and say, hey, this is already a use by right, so we're going to buy this land. Whereas data centers today, there's no predictability. It's like you don't even want to buy the land yet because you don't even have a right to build. It's called a CUP, a conditional use permit. You still have to go, and that's what happens in Michigan. Maybe different elsewhere, but it's like you still got to go get the permission of the local government. And it gets very political. So there's a political, as it should, because these are very controversial and new, and so it goes through a process. So everybody gets a say to what happens there. Because one would say, well, it's a private property right for them to do that. Well, it is, but there's also externalities that we have to consider. Like you're not going to allow allow a nuclear plant right next door to a residential subdivision or an energy plant, whether it's oil, natural gas, coal, you name it, because you're going to be pumping something in the air right next to them. So we have these areas, zoning, if you will, that kind of give them that right. But again, I would say it's operational concerns, not the actual construction.
So do these data centers not fall into a typical zoning category?
They don't. If there was a category, they would fall into a conditional use permit. So much like a drill rig, much like an event center. Now an event center has some kind of use by right in certain zonings, but no, it doesn't. It's purely conditioned upon approval from local government.
So the majority of these data centers, what type of area are they put in?
Generally rural areas, or when I was in Atlanta, we drove by one in kind of a residential area, but you couldn't even see it. It was completely surrounded by trees. They have thick forest down there, so kind of different topography and ecology down there. Whereas here we're in the desert and you can kind of see it from wherever.
Yeah.
So even if you live 3 miles away, you can still see the data center. And noise isn't trapped by the trees like it is in the east. So it's a different consideration out here. And I think people are worried about noise because apparently those things just hum and you can hear them. They're pretty loud. And again, water, what is it emitting? Like we talk about cell phones. What type of brain damage are we causing ourselves by putting a cell phone by our ear or right in front of our face? So there's just a lot of concerns, unfounded concerns probably, but still fears about how it's going to impact us. But that doesn't keep us from using AI or using technology and data, even though it means by me using this, there's a data center by someone's house somewhere, but not in my backyard, like put it elsewhere. Yeah. And that's always the case. We want energy. We want clean energy. We want progress, but not by me. Go put it out in the desert somewhere.
I mean, that's with power generation, because there's miles and miles of high tension wires that lead to a power plant somewhere. I don't care.
Yep.
As long as it's not in my neighborhood.
Correct.
So, but yeah, we kind of malign this, like maybe unfounded, maybe not resistance to these things, but it's kind of a good thing, because you say that the only way that these data centers can operate is if they have agreements in these municipalities where they have to recontribute something, right? And they're contributing jobs and stuff like that. But on one hand, unfounded mistrust is not a good thing, but on the other hand, maybe unfounded mistrust is a good thing, just because it's the checks and balance, right, in the whole process. And eventually, it'll find this equilibrium state to where people will realize, these things aren't such a big deal, or at least not this monumental deal compared to a huge Walmart or a manufacturing plant. But I mean, they do have an effect. It's impossible to say that you can hide the effect of these things. And that again is where we just need honest analysis, right? Yep. If we think these things are emitting some sort of electromagnetic radiation, there's ways to mitigate that, and there's also ways to study that. So let's study it, and then let's deal with it.
Yeah.
And then let the data center proceed. If it's water consumption that we're talking about, let's go to a closed loop system.
Yep.
If it's power generation or strain on the power grid, let's figure out a way to generate more power.
Sure.
So, it's probably just seems so extreme because it is so new. But I've also heard that, like 6 months ago, there was hundreds and hundreds of these data center projects, and like 50% of them have been canceled.
Yeah, is
that also true?
I don't know the exact number, but I know they're stalling out. They're up against some extreme public opposition, which again, I like what you said. Cynicism is good. Like when you hear a new idea, like your brow should furl. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know about this. That sounds risky. Let's, because then it puts pressure on the, on the industry itself to say, I need to answer these questions for the public. They're concerned about this, and that. And I'm not talking about like just pacifying them, but honestly answering these questions. And if it is a real concern, then answer it. As in like use less water, produce your own energy, electromagnetism being emitted into the universe. Yeah, like let's answer these questions honestly so that people can say, okay, I can sleep at night. And yes, I love watching Netflix, or I love drafting emails with AI. I don't know, whatever you do with AI, it's like now I can feel good about it because I'm not being a hypocrite.
Yeah.
I support data centers because I understand how it supports me. So
yeah. So in that vein, like what is the acceptable use of AI in your opinion?
Yeah, that's
for just like an average person. Because you can either take the Luddite approach and say, I'm never going to touch AI with a 10-foot pole in my entire life. Or you can take the opposite approach of like, I'm going to invite AI into every like aspect of my life as much as I can. And so where do you fall?
It's a tool for sure. It's made me more efficient, but I want product to be still identified with a person, right? So for example, I do use it to edit my emails and stuff like that, but I write the original email, It's like, so it's my content is in there and say, okay, edit this. Or if it's maybe a bit harsh, you can say, take out the tone a little bit. But I want it to be mine. I still read the entire thing. I edit it, modify it if I don't like it. I want it to be me. I still want things coming from humans. I get emails all the time where I'm like, it's just an eye roll because it's like, this is pure AI. Or like someone says, hey, will you read this 67-page document I just created myself? And it's on some obscure topic, and I'm like, this is pure AI. I'm not going to read, your AI generated that took you 14 seconds to generate. I'm just not interested. And you can tell when people respond in email, and it's AI. It's milquetoast. It's completely has no humanity in it, and so you can kind of tell. So I still want my humanity to be reflected in everything I do. It's nice for searches because sometimes if you don't have the right key phrase in a Google search, you're not going to get what you want. So you have a hard time understanding what you need. Whereas AI, you can explain where you're at, what you need to get to, and it divines through mathematical equations and language models kind of what you need and what you want, and it gets you there quicker and easier. So it's absolutely a tool, but it can be abused. Like you're starting to see authors of books claim to have written a book, but it's clearly AI. And in fact, there's I can't remember the term of it, but AI is, for some reason, in its language models, uses, when it's explaining something, it'll use negatives and then get to what something is. So if you ask AI what is something, it tends to use two negatives and then a positive. So people are starting to recognize this, and why it does it, we'll never know. Why AI has these tendencies. It's almost like it's has a personality or something, but it has these tendencies. In fact, I think it was in Romeo and Juliet, there's a lot of these. So people are like, was Romeo and Juliet written in AI? Because it has a lot of those tendencies.
Maybe it was sent back from the future.
But
so the other question I have is just, if you use AI to generate something, are you giving OpenAI or whatever, Anthropic, is that one of them?
that's one of them, yeah.
Are you giving them permission to let the AI train on what you've just written?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So maybe that's something that people don't understand in the fine print of just, if you have an AI algorithm, you have to train it on the material so that it's effective in producing, it's mimicking human writing, right? So you have to train it on something, and there's a ton of stuff in the public domain that it can be trained on.
Yeah.
But if I'm writing an email and I use AI, then I've given the AI permission to totally digest what I've just written.
Correct.
And it goes into the training resources of the AI.
It does. I don't think it uses your specific content for other things, but yeah, it trains it. It understands better.
And that's what I think, like these these so-called creatives that would use AI to make an image or a movie or something, right? If they go beyond using it as a tool and they start using it to create, what they're doing is they're just using it to create something that is a result of just the redigested humanity, right?
And refined, yeah.
If I use AI to write a novel, I'm not really using AI to generate my ideas. I'm using AI to generate ideas that are just an amalgamation of a million other human ideas. So it's not really the genesis of creativity. It's kind of the redigestion of everything that's already existed before.
100%. Like, it's not creating anything new. It may be kind of regurgitated and feels new.
Yeah, it's regurgitated.
Yeah,
it's a good word.
It feels novel, but in reality, there's no creativity there. It's just a recomputation. So yeah, it's a new world we're living in.
Do you think the Sam Altman types, and we getting long? The Sam Altman types are trying to make a god out of it?
I mean, I've listened
by intent?
No, I mean, if you take him at his word, no. I mean, I think Sam Altman is.
Maybe I should have went with Peter Thiel, because he seems to be the one that's trying to make something divine out of AI.
Yeah, Peter Thiel's an interesting fella. I mean, I give him the benefit of the doubt. I think they see it as a tool that's going to better humanity. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to better humanity, and we can make arguments all day long whether it is helping humanity or harming humanity. And I see the merits in both sides of the argument. We talked about social media and AI a few weeks ago. You asked me which one I would rather get rid of, and I changed my mind in the midst. It was like, you're right. I think social media is more damaging than AI is.
Yeah.
AI is more of a tool. Social media, we are the tool.
And the product.
And social media is using us to basically just sell ads. There's very little benefit in, other than Facebook Marketplace, which is cool. I like it. There's very little benefit to social media that actually makes us better, smarter, more kind.
There's very little of that.
So, yeah.
Plus, I don't think social media helps a surgeon be a better surgeon or can do protein folding. It seems like just a new technology, right? And this is probably with every technology in the history of humanity, is that the capacity for it to better humanity is probably only equaled by its capacity for the destruction of humanity. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, with social media, it seems like it's definitely way in the destruction, like unintended consequences. Yeah. It's like if you take unintended consequences dialed up to the 15th power, that's social media. But I mean, with the things that AI has done as far as, chemical compounds, and if you wanted to see a cure for cancer, I would think that researchers using AI to accelerate their research is probably going to be where the cure for cancer comes from.
Yeah.
I'm just spitballing here, but it ain't coming from social media, that's for sure.
Well, and it's probably not going to come from the typical processes in the past, where we are making computations ourselves, we are trial and error. It's like AI is going to speed that up incredibly fast.
Oh, yeah.
And then
because it can do that billion computations per millisecond, right?
Yeah, and then you kind of... This is where I've always been like, what are we getting into? But like, then you pair, which is a burgeoning technology, but quantum computing, which can compute millions, billions times faster than our modern day computations.
And then it generates less heat and everything like that. So
you pair quantum computing with AI.
Yeah.
I mean, the fastest supercomputer today is still having a hard time mapping the human genome, right? Whereas they say...
I think the human genome has been mapped. But
it has, but I'm saying it still takes a large computing power. It takes a long time.
Sure.
Whereas, quantum computing in the future, they say they can take a snapshot of your breath. It'll map in seconds your human genome, which took decades before to try to map the human genome. And now just in the blink of an eye, and can even print a medication or a fix, a cure
Yeah.
for your malady
Yeah.
in the moment. I mean, just like
It's mind-boggling.
the potential is kind of cool, but at the same time, like, ooh, concerning.
Yeah. So with anything, it's just kind of have to have a nice definition of what it means to be human.
Yeah.
You know, because if you're human, but you have so many prosthetics and you've run so many chemicals, that
Are you human anymore?
are you human anymore? I don't know.
And you're
That's
responding
up for
with all your emails using AI,
Yeah.
and you write your books using AI.
Yeah. I mean, and that's where I've drawn the line too, because, you know, I have written a couple hundred pages of a novel during the sort of height of the AI craze, you know. And my worry is that I didn't use AI, but then you put it into an AI like detector and it's like, oh yeah, this was totally written by AI. And it's
Yeah.
like, but I didn't. So, but I definitely take issue with people trying to pass off AI as human creativity. Like if I have an image that I have just put a prompt into whatever AI tool and it's done it, and then I just say that it's based on my own creativity, in my humble opinion, that's false.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I have the utmost respect for a painter who will take a canvas and a bunch of different colors of paint and create something truly amazing, beautiful, and, you know, worth being in a museum. But if an AI can just do it in 5.8 microseconds, then it's like it has no worth, because I still put the utmost value on human consciousness and creativity. And I put value on AI as a tool for the augmentation of human endeavor only, not a replacement of creativity.
I think I saw it on YouTube, but like, I believe it was YouTube. I may be wrong, but there was a little tag below some of the videos that was AI generation involved or something like that. And I hope that continues, because I want to know what's genuine.
Yeah.
And what's, again, just a regurgitation of humanity through a language model.
Because for a while there, it was so easy to tell, but it's getting harder and harder every day.
It's getting better. And at some point, we're not going to be able to tell. So
Yeah.
AI detection software where we can know what's real and what's fake, because people are going to crave the real, you know?
I think so. I used to think that people would be fooled by the unreal, like the virtual reality or something. But then we see the failure of the metaverse and stuff like that. And then it got me thinking. It kind of switched places and said, I think, yeah, in some way, I think the majority will rebel against the unreal, you know, and they will know and they will crave what the reality of things.
I hope so. I think that's a good place for culture to be, is craving the reality.
Crave the real.
Crave the real.
That's a good tagline. Maybe that's for Taco Bell. They could just say, crave the real.
Taco Bell of all places. Crave the real. Well, I think with that, I think we solved AI.
We have hit the tip of the iceberg on a subject that could go on for infinitum.
Yeah.
Ad infinitum?
I don't know.
To infinity and beyond?
Infinitum. Whatever.
All right. Well, as we always say.
As we always say.